This is a true story, adapted from the oil leakage explosion accident of Dalian July the 16th oil pipeline. More than 2,000 firefighters and soldiers fought all night, saving the lives and safety of 8 million people in the city. It's such a thrilling and gripping movie. Someone even said, excessive sensationalism. It's not an exaggeration to say that. The real-life events in the prototype event are far more difficult and heartbreaking than those in movies. July the 16th, 2010, a foreign crew member discovered valve failure while unloading oil at Dalian Zigang oil field. To save time, he did not declare the situation, when the staff are still injecting desulfurizer into the pipeline as usual. When processing sulfurizers in crude oil, unexpectedly, the pressure of oil pipeline rises, causing overpressure bulges in the filling hose, instantaneous burst of pressure gauge. A disaster followed. Subsequently, all the fire squadrons in the city have received a police order, rushing from all directions to the scene. The commander-in-chief immediately conducted an analysis and tactical deployment on the scene. The most dangerous one right now is Tank 01. It is closest to the ignition point, although there hasn't been much movement yet. But this diameter is 80 meters, 10 meters high, a full 100,000 cubic meters of storage tank, always being grilled at high temperatures. Once an explosion occurs, the consequences are unimaginable. At this point, the general manager of the port walked in. Do you have anything to add? The firefighters who did not have a clear task immediately rushed into the fire. Take the lead in extinguishing the flowing fire on the ground. Facing the raging fire, the soldiers are fearless. Move forward courageously. With the efforts of everyone, the flowing fire is finally under control. Unexpectedly, but a fire broke out from the top of Tank 01. The team members received orders, immediately set up a ladder and climb up, use foam trench pipe to extinguish fire. However, when they were halfway there, the old tank exploded. The explosion caused the flowing fire on the ground to reignite. Injured firefighters should evacuate promptly. Another batch was promptly supplemented with desperate efforts to extinguish the fire. And at this moment, the port manager was quietly calling his family on the side. Tell them to leave quickly. Coincidentally caught by Jiang Liwei, the captain of Dongshan Squadron. If you keep going, you won't be able to leave anymore. Did you hear me? Perfect. What can't go? Under helplessness, the port manager only revealed the truth. The sudden explosion occurred. The control room was bombed out. Failure to close the valve in a timely manner. All valves between the oil tanks in Tank Farm 1 are now open. That is to say, all the oil in the oil tanks is flowing into Tank 01. Tank 01 may explode again at any time. This news has chilled the commander-in-chief's spine, sweating and bristling. Manager's next words make him even more frightened. Now, the scariest thing is not a zero jar. The most terrifying thing is the chemical tank farm that is separated from him all the way. The chemical tank contains a large amount of toxic substances such as xylene and hydride. Once an explosion occurs, its power is comparable to 20 Hiroshima atomic bombs. Not only will the entire city become a scorched earth, the impact of the toxic gas generated by the explosion is incalculable. The only solution currently is to power up the valve, send someone in and close the 2 oil tank valves that lead to the other irrigation areas from Tank 01. Further prevent the spread of flowing fire. This matter is very serious. The Commander-in-Chief immediately redeployed the special service team that had withdrawn from the fire site. As the last level of the chemical tank farm, be strictly on guard and defend to the last. Never send a head-end power car when a fire approaches. Entering the irrigation area by Jiang Liwei as an engineer, on the premise of ensuring the safety of engineers, automatically close the valve by energizing it. But they just successfully closed the valve in Zone B. When preparing to go to area, unexpected explosion occurs again. The head-end power car was destroyed, and Jiang Liwei and the engineer were also chased and blocked by flowing fire. Fortunately, the two of them dodged in time. Only then can we escape from heaven without any danger. The accident just now led to the destruction of the head-end power car, gathering 4 valves that were already too late to leave, now surrounded by flowing fire. Time is already pressing. The Commander-in-Chief has decided to select a team member to join the district team, manually close the valve. At this moment, Jiang Liwei took the initiative to step forward, because he just went in and closed the valve in Zone B, so he's currently the best candidate. Subsequently, Jiang Liwei led the entire Dongshan Squadron to form a protective death squadron. Open up a path to the fire for oneself, even if it's a near death. They also have no complaints or regrets. After Jiang Liwei entered the fire with a teammate, turn around and say goodbye to your teammates. And this difference is very likely to be the two of heaven and man rotating on the valve for a full 45 minutes. The valve has not been closed yet. Their oxygen has also sounded an alarm. After the Commander-in-Chief learned of the situation, immediately questioned the irrigation district manager severely. You are not saying it can be closed in just over 10 minutes, right? I've never manually turned it off before. I only know rotate 80 laps for a mouthful. A valve. 100 bites. Why do you lie to us repeatedly? I didn't lie to you. I have hardships. I even told you afterwards. Who dares to deal with me? You don't know much about firefighters. Actually, in prototype events, a valve does not rotate 8,000 turns, but 80,000 laps. 4 valves make 320,000 turns. After learning about the situation, Jiang Liwei, although very angry, but no matter how many laps, he has to complete the task, because this not only affects the lives of 8 million people in the city, it is also his responsibility and mission on his shoulders. Although they were wearing fire-resistant clothing, but the high temperature outside has already made them feel weak. Coke can only drink foam water, moisturize the throat. Fortunately, they did their best. Through countless hardships. Finally, close both valves. Now only the last two valves on the opposite side are left. But they are already surrounded by a large fire. There is no slightest retreat by my side. They had to take a desperate risk, climbing over the pipeline. Just wanted to continue turning the remaining valves. The number 1 jar made a huge noise. Due to the leakage of crude oil into the sewer, it was ignited by flowing fire. An explosion occurred in an instant. All the manhole cover soared to the sky. Subsequently, a series of chain explosions were triggered. I haven't waited for everyone to react yet. The fire was instantly extinguished. This indicates that a larger explosion is imminent. But everyone hasn't evacuated in time yet. The explosion followed. After the explosion, the Special Service Squadron 1, who is holding on to the chemical tank farm, immediately responds, carrying a high-pressure water gun to compete with the fire. Swear to the death to safeguard the safety of Guangqua District. At a critical moment, their water hoses have all been cut off, and their retreat is complete, also sealed by the fire. At the critical moment, a team member rushed over alone carrying a high-pressure water gun, opening up an escape route for his teammates in the face of the fire. When the team members escaped, unfortunately, he was hit by a collapsed pipeline and lived in the last moment of his life. Take off the hat, throw to teammates. This one, here. They don't have time to grieve. The captain encouraged his comrades to regain their morale. In order to prevent Captain Liu Tango from coming at any time, he used a fire truck to crash into a wall. People draw materials from local sources, build a defense line on the ground with bricks, but their fire water reserves have all been used up. For a firefighter in a fire scene, soldiers who have run out of bullets on the battlefield, even if you're already in danger, even if you're going to die, they're also going to die in front of the chemical tank farm. Use your body to block the fire. Subsequently, the captain used his phone to ask everyone to leave a last word for their family. I want to go home now. Mom, you didn't embarrass him this time. That's the task this time. It's really... No. Thank you to the government. Tell you. Listen to your father's words. Growing up. Becoming. January. 3 million. This is to carry the weight forward for us. The firefighters who stopped the disaster for us. Meanwhile, all water supply systems in the city have been interrupted. Urgent situation throughout the fire scene. Now all the heavy responsibility falls on Xu Xiaobing, who is responsible for remote water supply. But due to the excessive amount of garbage in the lake, the water pump is almost blocked. Xu Xiaobing is still struggling to clean up in the water. Because we can't wait for the water source. The entire Secret Service First Squadron has been cornered by flowing fire. What's even more terrifying is that, at this point, the temperature of the chemical tank rapidly increases. Body peeling. There is a possibility of an explosion at any time. But the firefighters did not retreat. They formed a human wall hand in hand, holding a heart shape that looks at death as if returning home, become the last line of defense. At this most critical moment, Xu Xiaobing finally fixed the blocked water pump. The high-pressure water gun is like an angry faucet. Under the joint efforts of everyone, drive the flowing fire back again. However, Xu Xiaobing got entangled in a fishing net. Allow teammates to rescue with all their might, nor was it possible to pull him back to the surface. And he's still preparing wedding photos with his girlfriend this morning. I didn't expect this couple who were about to get married to be separated by heaven and earth at this moment. And Xu Liwei successfully closed the third valve on his side. But the young teammates were grilled for a long time due to the high temperature. I'm already exhausted. Jiang Liwei couldn't bear his teammates to be buried here. Tell him to leave here together. After the teammates successfully escaped from the flames, and he chose to stay on his own, continue to rotate the last remaining valve. The gloves are broken. He firmly turned the valve with his bare hands, with his persistent efforts, finally closing the last valve. And at this moment, a fiery snake rushed out of the oil tank, rushed Jiang Liwei into the vast sea of fire. His sacrifice also gave the headquarters an opportunity to launch a general attack. All firefighters launched a fierce attack on Tank 01. Finally, the fire was extinguished in 12 hours. Just those cute and great trailblazers. I can't go back to my family anymore. Movies are just resistance to forgetting. Tell the world who firefighters are. At the same time, it also comforts the hero. The world will eventually understand you. Experience the greatness of your ordinary life.